Pay for it now or pay for it later. Get off your ass.
Okay, guys, it's Dr. Ryan, and today we're going to be talking with one of my patients, Chrissy. Chrissy's been a patient of the clinic just about 3 months or so, and she's made some very significant changes. So, Chrissy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with the clinic, but why don't we start out with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
I live in California. I have been in the fitness industry for 20 years. I live and breathe fitness, and I see value in it tremendously. So it's part of my blueprint. I have two small children. I have an 8-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, so I'm very busy with them. I'm recently-ish divorced, so about 3 years ago, and I'm starting a new chapter.
What was it like prior to starting with Summaup? Now, you are a little bit different than the typical patient that comes to me in that you were fairly well optimized on your own, but you just had some specific problems you wanted to work on. Why don't we talk about that? What were some of the goals that you were trying to accomplish?
I open up boutique fitness studios, so I'm actually a salesperson is what I am, but I have a big background in, I've gotten educated to be a personal trainer, and also a nutritionist. And so I'm one of those people who knows a lot of information, but also sees the value of accountability and working with somebody. So I've always worked with somebody since I've always had a trainer of some sort on and off since I was 19 years old. I'm 40. And since 2014, I actually worked with a macro coach. So I made the switch to you guys after almost a decade with him. And the reason for that was because I wasn't seeing the value in my membership anymore. Maybe it's because I was an OG, but I wasn't getting the attention that I needed to achieve the goals that I wanted. And although we made multiple times, I've had 2 babies, so I mean, he saw everything with me, right? And he saw me, I've gone through recovery with alcoholism, so he's literally seen me at all different stages for a decade, right? And we've been through a lot. But when I decided to make the switch, I was frustrated because about a year earlier, before I made the switch, I had hit an all-time low for me. So we were really grinding it out. I was in a lot of pain with my life. And so, a lot of times you find motivation through pain. And I hit a low of 132, which is, I never thought I would see 132. To me, I look good and feel good and I'm comfortable if I'm below 140. I always have had muscle. I just have fat on top of the muscle. And I'm German and I'm Irish, so I'm very much built that way. So anyways, anytime I'm under 140, I feel good. Like 137 is a good number for me. I like that number. And we got down to 132 and he was like, oh, we're going to get you to 125. But I was grinding it out. I was working out. He trains fitness competition people a lot and regular people too, but a lot of competitors. And so he treated me like a competitor, and I have a competitive mind, so it makes sense. But I'm also a mom, and I was at the time, 38, and he met me when I was in my 20s. So I had changed a lot and I needed balance, and I was not happy. It's something that I love. I love fitness and I love nutrition and I love using my body as a science project. I love it when actors go extremes. I love to see what the body can do. But I was grinding it out, and I was doing, 17 to 20,000 steps a day. And I was working out 6 days a week. And I was, when I was lifting, I was averaging like 2 hours a day for lifting, 5 days a week. That's a lot, and it's consuming. And I'm a business owner. I run my own business and I have 2 small kids. And so I was just chasing a clock every day, getting up earlier and earlier and earlier in order to hit those milestones in order to try to trim down. And that got old. His prices went up and I decided to bow out. So I was on my own for a little while and I was fine-ish, but I like the accountability a lot. I enjoy it. I enjoy the accountability. So I was looking for a new program, and I know that hopefully we'll talk about it, but inflammation has always been a huge issue for me. And so that's one of the biggest impacts that I've seen with this program. So anyways.
So we talked about some of the reasons for you looking for a alternative solution. How did you find out about us, and what made you finally say, okay, Dr. Ryan Summaup is the right choice for me?
So I am dating somebody who's on your program, And when I met him, shortly after my divorce, when I met him, he said he was a self-proclaimed biohacker. And I didn't know what that was. I thought he was somebody who tapped into like the black market on the internet. And I Googled it and I was like, oh, okay, he's a biohacker. So he does like, he's like, no, everything that you do on the outside, I do on the inside as well. And, you know, he's 57 and he looks 43, you know, 48, his eyes give him away, poor guy. But yes, it's working. Let's just say that. And so I got more intrigued. And of course, when it's your partner, you kind of follow suit. And so I was already starting to do simple little changes that I saw and a huge impact, just things that we were doing, I'm doing a name drop here, True Niagen for my brain. Man, that was huge. MCT oils, those kind of things. So I was already doing that. He had already done some hormone optimization therapy in the past, and he was talking to me about the way my body will go through changes. He was previously married, so his ex-wife is in her 50s, so he's been through it with her. And so he was kind of just setting up the tone of what's to come. The women in my family go through menopause, usually in their mid-40s. So I just knew it was coming. And it wasn't that I couldn't lose weight. I didn't have the spirit or the energy to want to lose the additional weight, because to me, the only way I could do it was complete burnout. And I'm a mom and I'm busy and I want to be happy. And when you're in a system of recovery too, you're just trying to find balance and enjoy your life and appreciate the things that you have. I have actively been on a journey of, look, I want to look good, but I want to feel good more. And I assume that looking good will follow suit. And I really, really need balance in my life. And that's really what I was looking for. So, but I also know that you can tweak things to help you optimize fitness. And I also want to live a long time. Not too long because he's older than me. So, you know.
Well,
but yeah.
You certainly want to be the best Chrissy that you can be. You want to maximize your health span, the amount of years that you're going to be in excellent health. You want to improve your biomarkers. And so, okay, why don't we transition over to some of the changes that you saw after joining the clinic? And before you go into that, I do want to kind of brag on some of the changes I noticed that were quite remarkable to me. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed when you came with me is that you were quite estrogen dominant. And like a lot of patients that come to me that are perimenopausal, you're on birth control. And we made the decision of transitioning off of it. This is a topic that probably requires a lot more discussion, but in my personal opinion, the personal opinion of one physician, hormonal birth control generally is not conducive to your long-term fitness goals. It tends to cause weight gain, potentially promote propagation of clots. There's questions of certain cancers, certain types of cancers, somewhat controversial. But the goal was, you know, since we wanted to get you healthier and improve your weight loss resistance, as you kind of mentioned, coming off was something that, you know, we want to try and you're willing to go through it. And what a change it made. You were very estrogen dominant when we started, but you're able to bring your estrogen levels down to a much healthier range at 97 picograms per milliliter, just in the span of really 2.5 months, right? And then your progesterone levels were going to increase. I see this a lot with patients on long-term birth control. The progestins just very much suppress your natural progesterone secretion. So sometimes adding in a progesterone can help balance the estrogen to progesterone ratio, of course, and make things a lot easier. There were a few things in regards to your micronutrients. You obviously have a very good background in supplementation, but there are these stubbornly low values in terms of your micronutrients, and utilizing the right supplements through discussions allowed us to improve your vitamin D levels, and as we'll see, your vitamin B12 levels from 30 to 89. As I mentioned, you are unique. A lot of my patients come to me 50, 100 pounds, you know, even 150 pounds overweight. You are not one of those individuals. And so your lipid panel is actually pretty good, but through some dietary changes, you're able to take an already good apolipoprotein B and make it really, really good at 77. You did talk about inflammation. I think of all the values, this is the most remarkable to me. You took a CRP, which is a marker of chronic inflammation, as you had not had an acute illness or an injury around the time of the labs that was very bad at 2.5, and just completely dropped it down to 0.5, which is amazing. And these things are all quite possible with the adequate diet, supplement regimen, and hormonal optimization program in place. And then just some other values, your triglycerides, again, very good. You're able to cut them in half. Again, they're quite good to start, along with your VLDL, which is also quite good, but you're able to decrease that significantly. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, your vitamin D3 and B12 levels were not optimal, but with appropriate supplementation, you're able to make those levels better. And so these things ideally made you feel better, but as you can tell, you also looked better. Changes in terms of your weight loss, you're down to that ideal situation right around 137, almost at your lowest at 132 from when you started, about almost 15 pounds, right? And your physique kind of demonstrated that too. Again, you're not in bad shape, but you're able to get much leaner and sleeker just in the span of 2.5, 3 months or so. So I was very impressed with how quickly you're able to make changes in your body and your biomarkers. But outside of that, what are some of the other changes that you noticed in terms of your health and physique?
Just realized something, but I have to point it out. So when I was grinding it out before, I started at 154, and to get to 140, that took me about 9 months.
Oh my goodness.
So I just realized that, and with you guys, it was really January, February. It was like 3 months, right? Because I didn't have all the things that you guys do in the beginning because you have to wait. And it was just me trying to eat clean and the exercise program. And then I've got all my things later. So it wasn't the struggle. Weight loss is great. Seeing my muscles are great. That photo isn't even up to date because I'm a bad student and I'm lazy with the photos. I'm cold in the morning. There's my excuse. I don't want to get in my bathing suit, but yeah, I look better actually now than I do in the photo that you just showed. My arm muscles are really popping and my abs are showing. So that's exciting. Now that's all great and wonderful, but the thing that has been life-changing for me is the inflammation that's gone down. So I had inflammation to the point of my skin feeling bruised. And I talked about that when I first talked to you guys on the initial phone call, where I was like, I feel like, and then the person I was talking to said, it sounds like, you have a lot of inflammation, like maybe you have chronic inflammation. I never even thought about that before. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm retaining water. And when I would retain water, I mean, my weight would jump up, 7 to 9 pounds. If I went on vacation, I would gain 9 pounds. And so, that doesn't happen anymore, or that hasn't happened. Not that I've taken a vacation, I just know it wouldn't. And it's not because I ate a bunch of crap on vacation. It's just the inflammation from travel and just doing different things and being in a different area. And some of the things that you had me do, which actually wasn't that hard. I don't know why it wasn't that hard, but I cut out dairy, I cut out gluten, and I cut out Splenda. So and it's interesting because now I was just at a restaurant and I had something. I had sugar and gluten. I had a dessert and I got an instant headache. Instant. And I was like, dang it, that's annoying. So it's very clear that my body doesn't like that stuff. And now I've been clean for long enough that when I actually eat that stuff, my body physically responds to it. So I'm super happy that the inflammation is down. My legs can look lean or they can look like tree trunks. So I'm happy about not looking like a tree trunk. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing. Just having a shape. It's just the inflammation takes away all the shape. So
yeah. This is very common. Gluten has been associated with a lot of autoimmune disorders, right? And that's one of the bigger components of the autoimmune protocol diet, the diet that I recommend for most of my patients, or autoimmune paleo diet. And in many cases, they'll also see other things that will disappear, like joint pain. I've had a lot of my patients that had severe joint pain in their knees and their back just disappear after 2 to 3 months of just following a healthier, gluten-free, dairy-free diet that avoid some of the more common things people are allergic to. So good. So you talked a little about your physique and overall health. What are some of the changes you saw in terms of your business, career, family, friends? What have they seen?
Well, I've always been on some sort of program, so my family didn't necessarily notice it. She's drinking shakes or whatever. I'm super happy that I have a partner that supports me. I didn't have that before. So it's been easy with the food part for the most part because he's on the same program. So they look a little different, but he's on the same program. So it's so much easier when you have somebody to do it with you and you have that support system. So I'm very fortunate there because I've not had it before. So to talk about my journey, because somebody else might be watching this video and then sign up and they might go through the same struggles. It wasn't all peaches and cream for the first month. So getting off the birth control, I trusted the process. I'm not saying I didn't get frustrated, but I also knew that it was part of it just because I understand the body, right? But I've been taking birth control since I was 14 years old. So I knew I didn't know what was going to happen when I went off. I didn't know if I was going to go crazier, but I just knew it would be different. And I bled a lot. and I gained weight. So, I went up. I think my highest was like 154 or something. I'm like, what? But it was inflammation too. I could feel it, right? Like I knew it was there, but I also knew it wasn't real. I knew it was hormonal. I was a little crazy, not too crazy, but a little crazy. And then I talked to you guys and you confirmed, I'm one of those people that knows a lot, right? So you have to tell me like, yeah, Christina, So yeah, I knew. And I found comfort in that. I knew it was hormonal changes. I just kept going. And then it eventually flipped like a coin, which is usually how it works, right? So
yeah, and I'm really thankful that you mentioned that because, you've been on for so long. For some patients, it's, smoother than others, but, coming off of birth control, as you mentioned, you can get irregular bleeding, you can get bloating, weight gain as your body kind of normalizes its hormones. But as you mentioned, it was the process, while uncomfortable for a couple of weeks, normalized, right? And now you feel just so much better.
The grinding it out part that I was doing before, I actively have been doing. When we first started, I was just doing 3 days a week of lifting and cardio, and my business got out of control. I'm lucky if I get 1 day off right now, and it's been like that since early February. And I'm on 7 days this week too. This is just a little break for me. And, I have to stay alert and I have to stay energized. At the beginning, it was hard. I was like falling asleep and it was just, everything was switching and it was really weird, but now it's stabilized and I have energy and it carries me through the whole day. And also I stopped doing cardio. I started lifting 4 days a week. And I stopped doing cardio except for walking my dogs maybe 1.5 miles, like 3 or 4 days a week. And my numbers are just going, I can see my body's changing. Like I'm chiseling out. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with that.
Well, it's crazy. So a lot of my patients, once you improve inflammation and you change your insulin sensitivity and you improve, your hormonal balance, you don't need to do as much cardio as you may have in the past, and you can get very, very good results. And sometimes, if you do too much cardio, your body gets used to that aerobic activity. And I've seen this sometimes with patients that have been, former physique athletes, and they get down to this like ridiculously lean space, but they had to do, one patient actually spoke to me, she was eating under 800 calories a day, right? And she was doing almost 2.5 hours of cardio to get, and, do well at this competition ultimately. But then, that is not sustainable long term, right?
I wasn't doing a competition before. I was carb cycling. And on the days that I wasn't eating carbs, I was in the 900s. On the days I was eating carbs, I was like 11 to 1200. And so it was like 2 days low, 1 day high. And I was doing probably 2.5 hours of cardio because I needed to get the 20,000 steps in. And in addition, I was lifting to basically get the same results that I'm going to have by the end of April. So yeah, very different life.
Okay, good. You displayed a lot of other benefits you got from the program. Is there anything else that you haven't really talked about that came from working with the program, or anything else you'd like to talk about in regards to the program itself in general?
What I didn't realize is that you have a whole team behind you. So I can send a message at any time and somebody answers me. And I harass you guys too sometimes. It's just my sense of humor. But yeah, you guys just chime in, and it's nice to know that there's other people out there. There's 24-hour support, basically, is what I'm getting at. So.
Okay, well, summing this up, what would you tell someone who is watching this now and is uncertain about joining the program? What would you tell that individual?
I can tell them whatever I want.
Sure, absolutely.
Pay for it now or pay for it later. Get off your ass. Pay for it now or pay for it later. You're going to pay for it later if you don't pay for it now. So it's not cheap, you guys. So it's an investment in your health, and it's all encompassing. It covers everything, all of it. So the fitness part, the cardiovascular part, I get cardio when I do my weights. The eating part, the accountability part, the hormone optimization part, it's all encompassing. So now look, if I continue to do what I've done my whole life and kept on keeping on, and would have had a pretty healthy life, probably, yeah. But I know that this is healthier, especially with the inflammation. When I had the macros coach before, it was just, you had to get your macros, and it didn't matter what you ate. You just had to make sure you hit the numbers. So for those of you who don't know what macro diet is, it's basically you watch your carbs, your fat, and your protein, which gets you to a certain calorie max. So you're not watching calories, but you're. Yeah. So, I'm short on 20 grams of protein. I better eat a shake or whatever, right? Because it has no carbs and no fat. fat, but it's got the protein, or chicken breast or something like that. But I wasn't eating the right things, and I knew I wasn't eating the right things, but I got away with it for a long time. But the inflammation was huge. So it's not cheap, but it's worth it.
Glad you mentioned that. I think in life, we all have investments that we need to make, right? And rather than costs, whenever I view something that I need to get, I view it as an investment. Is this going to make my life significantly better, right? And is the outcome, is the return on the investment going to be worth it, right? If I were to say, hey, Chrissy, you're going to invest $200,000, but it's going to be towards a house that's worth 1 million, you'd be like, all right, you would get the income, you would get maybe a crowdfund, you would get it done, right? Because you're like, hey, I know it's worth this much. And so with myself and with the other members of the clinic, we wanted to create something where the investment that you get on will give you returns long term, because you'll understand what works best for your body, a process of getting you to a nice healthy physique and improving your biomarkers and just, energy states that, conducive to your life. And then, of course, doing it in a sustainable way, which for many people is priceless, right? It's important to make money and get healthy, and get wealthy, but does anyone really want to be the richest woman or man in the graveyard? Of course not, right? We want to be super healthy. We want to get there. We want to invest in things that make our life better. And so, but I do appreciate the candor of the statement. Well, Chrissy, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your experience with the clinic, and I'm very appreciative to have you as a patient.
Thank you.